computer. Hey everyone, I'm Pittsburgh Pat, and I'm here with Ryan Doyle of the Verdigris table. Ryan, how are you, sir?
I'm awesome this morning. How you feeling, Pat?
I feel great. My character didn't feel so good yesterday. By the way, this episode includes a discussion of player character deaths. Viewer discretion is advised. But while we're speaking to the audience, I always forget to do this. My channel is about geek life and various things like that. Ryan's channel is about role playing and specifically D&D, right? But you delve into other areas as well.
Mostly D&D because that's a lot of people's entrance ramp. A lot of my stuff is like how to run the game and get over the hump and start actually like DMing. Now that there's a new system coming out, I'm gonna focus back in on like the player
Yeah,
side as well.
yeah. So we got a lot of content coming up about that. We're both gonna buy the books in the fall, and we're gonna like talk all about that, and we'll be running it. So if you guys need help with that, check out our channels. Thank you very much. I'm over 13,007 now. You're at 7.5 or something like that.
Yeah,
So like, I mean, this is getting serious, folks, and it's because of you guys out there. You guys are making our dreams come true. I got to teach D&D, got paid for it last week. Ryan just came out with a compendium. Check that out in the description box. Buy it. And yeah, there's lots of great ideas in there. And here's some great ideas about what are this particular video is just a recap of the session that Ryan ran last night as a DM, and I was a player character and died. And so, and that hasn't happened for a while, and at least not with a character that I've run over more than like a few sessions. Like sometimes I'll do one shots with like Adventure League and try out different character builds in 5e. And then I'm not as attached to those characters, but I was kind of attached to this character. And I forgot we were playing old school edition, right? We were doing OSE. So those rules are deadly, like deadly. So yeah, so we had a character first, our friend Bert, he touched something and said do not touch and died. And I was
that something was a statue of a giant pile of skulls in stone with real skulls littered around it. So like my job as the old school DM is to telegraph danger, and
yeah.
I think I did my job.
The it was in capital letters, like on a plaque. It couldn't have been any more clear. And I feel a little bit guilty because I said, well, I mean, why would somebody put a sign on it saying do not touch unless there was something worth touching on there? And then Bert is the guy who goes in, he's like my mom who goes into a grocery store and has to touch everything and pick it up, put it back on the shelf. And Bert's character is like that. And so he did that and poof, instantly pile of dust.
R.I.P. And that's why we have retainers. You have a backup character essentially in the party, ready to rock. In a situation like that.
But then
This is
yeah, but then I got one hit. My character got one hit. I was grappling with what I thought was a mage. It turned out to be a shapeshifter and a doppelganger, doppelganger. And yeah, and I got she rolled max damage, bit me in the throat, and I had been getting slowly eaten away by acid in encounters with various creatures in this dungeon. And I forgot, I have to admit, I kind of forgot. I was getting cocky. Level 3 character, 19 hit points. That doesn't sound like a lot in 5e, but in old school rules, when you start with like 1d6 for hit points, like that same seems like a lot.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, and I was only getting hit for like one here and there, like one damage for acid splash or something like that. And I thought, okay, I can handle this. And obviously couldn't. So good, good. It was a fresh experience and humbling, and definitely will change my strategy going forward. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think the some people's favorite part and some people's least favorite part about like an old school style of play, whatever system you end up in, is the lethality.
Mm.
I like the feeling of stakes. I find in 5e, especially as you go up in levels, you're watching a superhero movie, there's no consequences. You know everyone's going to make it through the end
Right.
between character abilities and plot armor and crazy numbers. In the old school method of play, that was not the case. I'm not a huge fan of the insta death. Bertram did make a save. He did have a save against Doom, which he failed and then
That's right. He
disintegrated.
did. That's right. He did.
The other thing, you after being resurrected from being dropped, or no, prior to that actually, you stepped on a floor that would have given out into a pool of acid, but it was like in the midst of combat, so you hadn't really gotten like the
to explore it. Yeah,
clues of it, the indications of it. So I don't like the gotcha trap of like, oh, your character's dead because you didn't poke every inch of the floor with a 10-foot pole first, because that
right.
grinds play style to a halt. But two,
Yeah,
it's just
that's
like it's not
true.
fair.
It's like you have to kind of have a balance there with that. But I think yeah, that was nice of you to pull that back. The part that with the encounter and combat and dying in combat, which is totally legit. But you actually use some optional rules to allow them to give me a health potion to like to resurrect this character. That's not like strict play though, right? That's
That
optional play.
is so we're running Dolmenwood.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
running,
right.
so I should say the Incandescent Grottos is what I was running last night.
Mm.
I've taken that, which it very easily fits into the Dolmenwood setting. I put it by Fog Lake if anybody's running this. Um, and within the dome, I don't know if it's in Old School Essentials, I imagine it is, but in Dolmenwood, there is like an optional rule. It is in the book at death's door. So it behaves similar to death saves in fifth edition, if you're
Right.
familiar with that, but you roll a d6. If you roll a one or a two, you're dead. And that happens every round. So there's no like three saves and you're good. It's
Right.
just the clock is ticking, but there's a chance for your companions to, bring you back somehow. But there's a 33% chance you're gonna die
Yeah.
every round. So you're
So,
just you're rolling the dice literally every 6 seconds.
so
Uh,
that brings me to like the point. I mean, before we go, I mean, the do not touch thing that was awesome because like that was like that grenade in Mom and Dad Save the World. It says pick me up, and people pick it up, and then boom, they're gone, and then it falls to the ground. Someone goes, "Oh, pick me up," and they pick it up. So that was awesome. But so I wanted to mention that. But yeah, the in retrospect, at the time, I was like, "Oh man, my character's dead. That stinks. I've been using this character for 8 sessions, kind of like him, built him a little bit." But I did have a backup character rolled, so like that's no big deal. That's always a good idea. And I like the idea of like playing different characters, but as a player, me personally, as an experience, I get to play characters as a DM, and I DM often. And I have a couple other games that I'm involved in, so I have other, so the freshness of it. So maybe if this is this is your only campaign that a player is playing in, and they want to experience different types of characters, different character classes, and species, this might be really awesome. I already had that experience. So I was starting to get attached to this character. I can't say that I was like gonna break down and cry or needed therapy over it, but I guess this is my therapy. But
I'm here
but
for
I
you.
think having the consequence, having the lethality, and having that first experience with that in a long time, I think that's important. So because that's gonna if we go back to town and like heal, we're gonna be more careful about how we outfit ourselves going into dungeons now. So we're gonna like have tons of healings items and potions and that kind of stuff ready. I would imagine the wizard character or any spellcaster would have some healing spells. And we're gonna like be really careful before we pick combat again, right?
Mm.
So I like the idea of not having a chance to save. And I think also, I feel like with the old school rules, we've kind of been hacking it a little bit. We've kind of been playing around the rules in the sense that like we have this pack animal that we can like stow all our stuff on, and we have retainers. And I know these are all legit rules, but we're carrying all our stuff into the dungeon. It's kind of like in 5e where it's just like, okay, everybody starts with a bag of holding, whatever you want to carry with you, you can carry with you. I kind of like the idea of like, no, you can really only carry a limited amount of stuff. And then you have to find stuff or improvise, right? So, like, for instance, when we were in the dungeon and we're like, we found this creature, knocked her out finally, or the
Mm.
party knocked her out finally, and we're gonna tie her up, right? So that this doppelganger shapeshifter, so it couldn't like kill anyone else in the party again if it once it revived. We realized we didn't have any rope we had used our rope, right? So then we had to say, we'll tear tear her robe and like make stripped cloth and then tie up with the stripped cloth. So, you know, that forces innovation, right?
Mm.
Like if you only have 10 items on you, then you have to figure out what to do with your environment or something else, right? So having like, oh, well, we have this pack mule over here that has all our stuff on it, we can keep running back to. That kind of, you know what I mean? That kind of circumvents that like a little bit.
It doesn't, it doesn't. I think it's part of the play style. So that pack mule is, I mean, at that point was like 5, 6 rooms away. So when you're going back through rooms, I don't count it as 10 minutes, but every dungeon turn, I'm rolling for random encounters. So there's no saying you don't get a free pass to go back to that
Okay.
donkey every time. And in fact, in Winter's Daughter, there was some hijinks with the Feywild, the realm of Faerie, and time doesn't necessarily pass consistently between the two planes. So at
Right.
one point, you got back not realizing you'd been gone for a week.
Ah,
Your donkey, was left alone in the middle of a dangerous forest for a week in the
in
winter.
the winter, like
So, I mean,
brutal
I
winter.
I did some die rolling on my side to determine outcomes. I didn't just decide to like screw you guys, but you guys got screwed. All of the donkey was gone. And you bought this thing and you're feeding this thing. It's not just here's a bag of holding. We don't have to worry about inventory anymore. The donkey has slots, essentially. We're not doing like weight based, we're doing slot based, which is simpler. The donkey can only carry so much. You've paid a guy to stand there with the donkey so that
Mhm.
no one else steals it or whatever.
That's a
And
good
yeah,
point.
it's not a sure thing that you get back to the donkey. And a lot of so we are doing gold for XP or treasure
Mm.
for XP, which is kind of the baseline assumption in an old school style play. So like you find 100,000 pieces of gold, you got to carry that out of the dungeon, and a person by themselves isn't capable of doing that. You find
Right.
100,000 pieces worth of copper, you debate whether or not it's even worth taking
Right. It's
because
like
it's
looking at
heavy.
a penny on the sidewalk. Should I even pick it up? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was some banking involved, which kind of blew up because
So that was interesting.
that
Yeah.
character died. There's like gems mean something now. Because if I
Yeah.
have one little thing that's worth 500 gold pieces, that saves me a ton of weight. So like
Exactly.
there's jewelers
Yeah.
exchanging
Yeah.
currency for yeah, it's interesting. You can
Well,
get lost in the weeds of it, but I like the realism of it all.
yeah, for the audience, Bert's character, he had started a bank account in a town called Prigwort, which was, you know, several days journey, maybe a week's journey away. And so he doesn't immediately have access to his gold. So when his character died, that character who started that bank account died. Um, his new character, he said, "Well, I want to go back to Prigwort and get my 2,000 gold." Well, it's not your 2,000 gold.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I probably would have had a checkbook or a bank statement or something that would have. I'm like, well, yeah. Well, what if I find someone's bank statement on the ground and go into that bank and say, here, I found this, give me this money? They're not going to do it, right? So, you know, that's interesting. So now we're thinking about like beneficiaries and signing group agreements and pull, you know what I mean, pulling things.
Yeah.
So it makes you have to think about realism. You have to think about how would this world actually work, right?
And that's driving the driving force behind a lot of my decisions behind the screen. Right. So even that, I do let the dice determine some stuff to like try to clear my bias. But my first impulse was like, there's no this medieval bank who's like very familiar with adventurers and happy to take your money
Yeah,
because they're kind of banking on the fact that you might never come back.
half of them are going to die,
And
right?
now your fighter from Dreg or whatever is dead, and now this like Mossling shows up and demands his money. Like that's probably not going to fly. But I was like, all right, maybe
Walking
there's like
mushroom.
gold
Watch.
certificates or something. So I did roll for it. There was a chance he was going to get his money back.
Right.
But the dice said no, and it made sense to me. The dice are often right. The dice tell
Yeah.
the story.
Yeah.
Um,
That's funny. I could that there. I mean, that's almost a setup of a joke, you know, like
yeah.
a mushroom walks into a bank and demands gold. I don't know what the punchline is, but that's funny. It's yeah, it was a great session, I thought. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. And yeah, and it's completely different from 5e, and I have to remember that. Like I have to remember not to pick fights. The Winter's Daughter had a lot of social encounters. I
Mm.
really like that. Love that this dungeon crawl. I'd say I think with this style of play, as deadly as the dungeons are, I think social encounters are something I would be more my character would be more comfortable doing and with. And even though this is a supposedly like a knight who wants to prove himself in combat, rolling around and killing slugs in dungeons and getting splashed with acid damage isn't probably the highest thing on his list. It's done in obscurity and nobody knows about it, and it's not gonna further his status or career, and he could die. So like why would he take those? So the next time a quest is offered or several quests are offered and one's a dungeon crawl and the other one is like working with people in a town, he's probably going to go for the one working with people in a town, right? The more visible one.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, one, I should point out that those slugs had the horrible faces of babies, because it's a very weird world,
There was some
especially
eldritch horror in this one. Yeah,
especially when you go underground, things get
yeah,
real weird real fast.
yeah.
That was the second level. Um, but I will say that it's rare that combat is the default. You disturb a slug baby, like okay, the thing's gonna try to bite you, but it's very slow. You can get away from it. With the fight that dropped your character, it was um backing up a little bit. It was basically what you thought was the target. You have
Right.
come to the incandescent grottos to hunt down a rogue pragmatist who some wizard who stole something from the Empire. You didn't get a lot of details because you're kind of rushed out to get her to
We're
get the money.
just not good at getting details.
Um
That's our fault. We don't
and
ask questions.
before you found her, you found a room where like minis essentially were being produced, and you don't quite know the significance, but before your eyes, figures of your characters, your party joined that little group of little 1 inch statues that were there. And within those statues was your target, you assumed. This woman portrayed with like a wizard's robe and a staff with a prism on the top. And she was depicted twice.
Mhm.
And
And
then
that
you
was
go
a
into the next
clue.
room, you go into
Yeah,
the next room and find her, and what you found was in fact a doppelganger who's
yeah.
pretending to be her, who they're kind of nasty, but it's all about trickery with them. She didn't get a lot of opportunities to try to do anything, but she tried to her strategy is to separate the party, get one person alone, kill them, take their place. And she wants magic items. So she was going after the wizard probably.
Okay.
The wizard cast sleep, which was a very smart play in theory. But this thing is immune to sleep and charm, and is there to deceive and understand what happens when this wizard's casting a spell. So she pretended to fall asleep. So
Aha.
you went down to pick her up and she bit you in the throat,
Yeah.
and rolled max damage. But like, you think it's a wizard and it turns into some like weird abomination and rips your throat out. Ugh, yeah, that's not something you sleep
Well,
off in one night.
yeah, and that part of that was my fault because I hadn't been managing my wounds. I was still at like about half health, and I thought, well, okay, we're hitting these one hit creatures. I can go a little bit further, and hadn't considered like topping off the health with some healing items. So yeah, so maintenance, character maintenance is a big deal. Injuries are a big deal, and conditions are a big deal. A lot of paralysis, like at
Hmm.
one point the wizard got paralyzed. And I guess meta, we knew it was going to be 5 turns, so our characters kept doing whatever they wanted to do, which, I'm looking back on that and going, no, they probably should have been more concerned about their fallen comrades, but instead of continuing to explore. But yeah, so it's interesting, like there's a lot of changes to my normal D&D 5e character play style that I have to consider. So good
Yeah, and it's
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth like we were off next week. Last week I was on vacation, so we skipped a week. So I think some of the more gamey 5e habits came back into play because I've been careful to stress like, okay, this is old school, this is a shift of gears, 1 hit point matters, which is refreshing in some ways, right? You get splashed with acid when you kill this thing, it does 1 hit point in 5e. You're like, all right, whatever. Like
Yeah,
it
whatever.
doesn't feel like anything. In this, it's like one hit point matters. Everything matters here.
Yeah.
But it's easy to fall back into, especially where we're in a game shop, there's 100 other people around, right? Like maybe literally last night there's like a lot going on. It's easy to fall back into like the board game mode with the minis on the map, but there's the realism is much more accessible and consequential um in an older style of play.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good stuff. Well, that's the recap for today, Wednesday, July 3rd. Thanks everybody for watching and subscribing. And we're gonna keep playing. And I know at least a few people who have commented on these videos and like these, they give them ideas on what to play in their own. And if you have any comments, questions, or ideas, throw them in, throw them in the comments. I
Yeah,
answer all my comments. I know you answer your comments too. So
I try. It's been getting crazy lately, actually. But
mhm.
yeah.
It's
Any
hard.
questions about old school styles of play or Dolmenwood? I am happy to wax poetical because I'm having a love affair in the last few months. Thanks for having me on, Pat, especially after I dropped your character last night.
Ah!
Appreciate you, man.
No problem. And look forward to doing it again. All right.
Yeah, same time next week.
All right. See y'all later.